Good afternoon. Welcome to the panel on South America, or as we've defined it as well, Latin America. So this afternoon we'll be discussing not only South America, but we'll be also touching on Central America and Mexico as territories. We have four great professionals here on stage. We have the promoters on one side, we have the agents on the other side. I'm an agent, so I can do that. First, I want to introduce on my left is Fabiano from Move. Can you tell me something about your company?
Hello. Yes. Move Concerts is the largest independent promoter of, doesn't mean that we work independently or with independent acts only, but we do have offices in Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Colombia, and Costa Rica, Puerto Rico. We work across the region. We have partnerships in Chile as well, and work in separate countries as well. We do the booking for the Rock in Rio Festival that runs for the past 30 years in Brazil and Portugal. It did run here for 3 editions, and the company is one of. It has a new name, but it's been Water Brother, and then after Water Brother it was Eventpro, and then Move Concerts, and but still one of the pioneers of the music business in South America.
And Alex,
yes.
Time for Fun.
Yeah, Time
Maybe
for
your
Fun.
company?
Yeah, my name is Alex Wesley. I work for Time for Fun, one of the largest entertainment companies in the world. We do shows in our headquarters in Brazil, Argentina, and Chile, but we do shows all across South America. We do aside tours like Pearl Jam, Room 5, or indoor shows as well. We also do the Lollapalooza Brazil and Electric Daisy Carnival in Brazil.
You describe yourself as the largest live entertainment company in South America.
Yes,
Is this true?
We are, yes.
Yeah, no competition there?
A lot of competition, yes.
No, on being the largest. Yeah.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Now to the agents. Jeffrey, on my far right, from UTA. UTA recently merged or brought the agency group? Acquired. So, you want to introduce yourself, tell us something about what you do, and maybe a little bit about that relationship with the agency group.
Sure. My name is Jeremy Norkin, and I used to work at the agency group, which was the world's largest independent music booking company, recently acquired by UTA, United Talent Agency, which is one of the major talent agencies in the world. We have 7 offices worldwide: Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, Nashville, Miami, London, and Malmö, Sweden. And we are a multidisciplinary entertainment company that books tours and also packages shows on television, film, actors, writers, directors. But my role is kind of twofold at the United Talent Agency. I both book international artists all across Latin America, and I also book Spanish language artists throughout North and South America.
Now, just to say, the word I use is that your agency works on the territorial system. So, for example, a number of the biggest clients in the world are out of America or out of UK or Europe. You are working the territorial system where they're coming through your office in Miami into the Latin American market. Is that correct?
For the most part, there are some cases where some agents will book directly into Latin America and will not use my services, but the majority of artists and agents will be funneled through me so that I can do the best job for them in the territory as possible, since it's what I specialize in.
Good. And finally, Miguel.
Yeah, I'm Miguel Garcia de Charco. In Charco, we are based in Madrid and Santiago de Chile. We work with artists from all Latin America and Spain. We do Spanish touring Latin America from the Spanish artists, and then Latin American artists in Spain and all around Europe, Asia, and the States. We have also festivals, and that's all.
Where are your festivals?
In Madrid.
But
Right now we're
how
gonna
about
do
in
it.
South America? Do you do?
We did it. We did the first edition this summer in Madrid, and now we're gonna do the other one in Latin America
Yeah.
soon.
And now my perception is, Miguel, that you've traveled a lot in South America with your bands, and you're
Yeah.
probably more hands-on than maybe some of us other.
Sorry?
Hands-on. You're there. You're
Yes,
on tour.
I did it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you are
too much.
hands-on and Mr. Independent on the
Yes,
tour.
we work also. We work a lot to develop a new artist there, who has a little audience, and then to make it grow.
Okay.
So we have to go there. We have to see how it's. I'm a manager, also.
The manager, the agent, the tour
Yes,
manager,
I do this.
the runner. Okay.
Yes, when we are developing an artist, you have to think as a manager.
Good. I'm Rob Chalice. I'm one of the directors of Coda Agency. Some of you might be aware that Coda Agency went into partnership with Paradigm, the American agency, 2 years ago, who are also partners with AM Only and the Windish Agency. So, in effect, we are under one umbrella, and it's a similar case of like we're looking at acts globally as UTA will look at acts globally, CAA and William Morris. This rapidly seems to be a new model that's becoming prevalent. Let's talk about the market itself. What is the health of the Latin market as a whole? The general health of the market now. Is it growing, improving, developing?
I think that the touring business, and I think that has to do also with a lot of the decline on sales overall for the music business. It has become the most profitable part, or can be the most profitable part of an artist's income. So, being that said, Latin America has been a destination for many years for many artists, but not to the level of artists that we're now seeing coming down because of festivals, because of an increase on smaller scale venues, artists that are being pushed into development also in those markets, which can become an extremely profitable venture to any artist.
I think one of you said early on that the markets are diversifying, that you're seeing a greater spread of shows from small to large. And
The way I see it is that music itself is evolving in a different way. You don't get those gigantic names that easy anymore. It's tough to get. I think Medina said that during Rock in Rio this year. It's tough to book a headline.
Yeah.
It's getting tougher and tougher, and the reason is because you got the long tail with artists and new alternative acts appearing, and I think that's where South America is right now. We are trying to arrange ways to receive and develop new acts, new alternative acts. Festivals are always a good door. I think it's growing. Small clubs, small venues, small promoters. I think this is growing, even though we are living in a big crisis in South America, especially in Brazil.
This is more of a global trend as well. We've seen it in Australia, we've seen it in Europe. Festivals struggling to find those big star headliners. It's almost like the old model is dying slightly in that way, and we're seeing that diversity. So an entry point for a new band into Latin America, is it generally going to be a small club tour for a band, or is it going to be maybe appearing on one of these festivals?
Both options are good. showcases always good. Record labels should continue pushing that, bringing artists for showcases, present them to local promoters. That's a good idea, or do deals with local promoters so to actually put their faces out. There are a lot of ways to do it, not always profitable, but there are many ways. Festivals are always a good choice.
And how are you guys finding it with your
Yes,
clients?
the part of the market that I work in is growing a lot. We have a lot of festivals or making music fairs, and there's a lot of very, very good artists. I think it's the best moment in the last 20 years of new contest. Because in the beginning of the 2000s, there weren't a lot of big arts that can go out of their country. So the part that we're working is growing a lot, and we have a lot of situations to show them.
As such an expansive territory, I think the word crisis doesn't necessarily apply to all of it. I think it's such a fragmented territory. There's so many different countries that have different histories, politics, economics, appetites, that, for instance, right now there's a strong dollar. Brazil is, suffering a devaluation. Argentina has a new election. Meanwhile, Chile is doing okay. Tickets are still selling in Mexico and in Argentina. So I think that there's always going to be a difficult time for one of those countries. But I do think overall that it is the most exciting time. I agree with Miguel that this is one of the most exciting times in Latin America, because it's not just about big artists going there and doing arenas and stadiums. There's been a level of infrastructure that's developed that allows for smaller bands to play in clubs that are new clubs, small clubs, promoters that are independent, that are willing to take risks and do smaller shows. They're very hard to make happen, but they're happening now more than they, I think, ever have before.
What are your favorite territories, if you have favorite territories down there?
Personally or professionally?
Yeah, okay.
Like diamonds, the 3 C's. Costa Rica, Colombia, and Chile are probably my 3 favorite, but I love Brazil, I love Mexico, and I love Argentina as well. In terms of the most viable, I would say it's Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, and Chile. Colombia is not far behind, and I think Peru and Ecuador are really wonderful emerging markets where I'm seeing more and more activity.
So you have a client who hasn't toured South America before, maybe a manager who hasn't, but there's definitely something happening down there. You're about to start setting up the first touring of that act down there. What do you tell your manager and your act to expect, or before you go through this process?
I like to manage their expectations. I like to prepare them for the challenges that they'll face in Latin America that they might not otherwise face in a more developed territory like the United States or UK or Europe. Some of the venues don't have private entrances, some of them have dressing rooms, some of them have holes in the floors. Sometimes you can't get the exact same production that you can get in the UK or Europe. Sometimes there's language issues, so it's not for the weak of stomach. You have to be a little tougher to go down there. It's also more expensive, so on top of those challenges, you have the economic challenges. Everything is a flight. You've got rainforests and mountain ranges. Everything's by airplane, and so if you're not necessarily okay with those challenges and those economic difficulties, perhaps it's not the territory for you.
And the inevitable question you get from every manager: are we going to get paid? And when are we going to get paid? That seems to be a myth of the past now, is it? Or
I mean, there are promoters that default all over the world. I think that Latin America's come a very long way. I mean, there's a lot of really established promoters like Time for Fun and Move, which I really would never worry about. And when it comes to promoters that I've never worked with before, I would exercise a lot of caution, and I would make sure that we have a 50% deposit before there's any announce or on sale, and I would make sure that the balance is in the account before they get on any airplane.
I mean, the tip I know for any agent setting up down there is to find the right partner in each territory, and that would be the reliable partner as well.
Sorry?
The right partner, the reliable partner in each territory. I mean, we all get 100 emails from interested promoters, but you need to work with somebody who's going to come through with the show. But still, things change at the last moment, don't they? The sponsor changes, the stage time changes. You've got to be ready for the changes that happen.
We work in the live sector. It's all very live.
Yeah.
All very fluid.
Fluid.
Very fluid.
Yeah. Miguel, you got anything to say on that? And the experiences of touring bands down there? And
Yes, I think that there are a lot of new independent promoters that are working very well right now. And I think that when we tour in Latin America, they pay us better than when we tour in Europe. When I go with an artist to play in a small venue of 600 people in Latin America, maybe they pay me $6,000. And if I do that in London, how much do they pay me?
We paid you 200.
Yes. More or less. That's the difference. Maybe if you don't know the people who's working there, yes, maybe you're going to feel a little, I don't know, insecure if you know who to work with, but there are a lot of very good promoters right now. You have the big companies that you know how they work because they are working all over the world. Or maybe we have, I don't know, people that is making now very good festivals, they own venues, and they pay you very well and pay you before the show.
I always found that when bands have been to Latin America, they have loved the experience. However, things have changed in advance. They always come back and say, we want to do it again. Do you ever get bands wanting to tour the market too much there? They want to return and return? Is there...
All the time.
Yeah?
All the time. All the time. You know, people get hooked on. It's like a drug. You go to South America, the audiences are different. The response of the audience is different. It's not like going into the US and sitting in an arena, and then you're doing your show and people are seated and watching, and you really have to make an effort. In South America, they go on stage, everybody jumps, everybody cries, everybody, it's very passionate, it's very emotional, and that for an artist is an experience that you tend to forget all the rest of the challenges that can be there in certain situations. You tend to forget all of that,
Yeah.
With time, things have been, professionalized, so to say. Companies like a company like Time for Fun, which is a public company, and our company, I think that we've come a long way in terms of from settlement to how the equipment that we provide locally, that can be provided locally. And right now I think that we are, South America is ripe in many ways. Obviously there's artists that will need their specific equipment, and they have to budget that in, they have to bring it in, and they will do that anywhere. So,
am I correct in saying that sponsors are very heavily involved in a lot of South American shows? Is this?
They are involved, and I think that they make a huge difference overall into the offers. When you have platforms that are annual, and sometimes you have venues like Time for Fun, they own venues.
Do you find that artists are pushing back less on the involvement of sponsorship? I'm finding it generally as a global thing, it's more accepted now.
Depends on the type of sponsorship. In certain markets, for instance, Colombia, there's a lot of liquor and soft drinks, and in Brazil, it's mostly banks, and I would say, telecommunications.
And liquors as well.
Liquors, but you see, for instance, beer. Yeah, beer is still a big sponsor for Latin America overall. And sometimes there are certain acts that start the conversation and say, I do not accept that. So we already push back from those, and then we move on to other categories that we can get something similar or something. But they are the base of, for instance, festivals. Without sponsorship, you cannot do one. It's just not viable. And right?
Yep.
And for headline shows, you can still, work numbers that will make sense without the sponsorship, but obviously it's always better.
Got anything further to say about expectations of American artists and maybe European artists touring?
Well, the one thing about the audience, just completing what Fabiano was saying, what I see from the South American audience is an audience that likes to participate. likes to be seen, participates on the internet. Social media is crazy. Numbers in social media in Brazil is crazy. Everybody, all the agencies come to us and say, "Oh, my artist has a million people engaged in Facebook, and so that should mean something in ticket sales." Sometimes it doesn't. It's simply because our audience likes to participate, likes to be seen, and you get that on the live performance as well. So a live performance in Brazil, especially in Brazil, you get the audience likes to be seen and likes to participate. So that's the different part of what a show in South America is from
So what indicators are you looking for in advance as a promoter on the level that potential level an artist might be when they're coming into the market? Are you looking at social media, YouTube stats, any metrics, or is it, are you doing the classic promoter, I feel it here?
No, yeah, well, that's good, but
and then it hits me here.
Yeah. You will hit somewhere else.
Yeah.
We do all kinds of research. Sometimes it appears on Facebook, sometimes it appears on YouTube. Miley Cyrus was a big hit on YouTube because of the whole thing she did, but that not necessarily translated to tickets. One other artist that's very into Facebook and very active on Facebook has a huge fan base, not necessarily translate to tickets. So it's a mixture of very, very few indicators that you get, and then you put that together in a.
It's not mathematic yet.
It isn't anyway.
It's not mathematic yet, but we do definitely use social media stats from all social media, from Twitter to Facebook to YouTube. We use that at least to make ourselves feel a little better about the choice that we're making.
And Jeremy, what indicators are you using or looking for when you're negotiating? Are you using any of these factors? Or are you?
I mean, I've sold tours based off of social media statistics alone. There are several artists that I've worked with that are very heavily digital that have never been to Latin America. I'll ask the manager for an analytic breakdown, and I'll see that they have an incredible amount of fans in Sao Paulo or in Mexico City or wherever, and I'll call promoters. And some promoters, will be hesitant and not make an offer, and some promoters will make an offer. Some of them lower than we like. We'll add a back end so that it rewards the artist and the promoter for good sales and everyone's protected. And it's worked. And sometimes, as Alex said, sometimes it's just an indicator and it's empty. I know several artists, and this I think goes with radio as well. I know several artists that have radio hits and they don't sell tickets. And then you've got a band like Fish that's never been on the radio but sell out their own festival with no other artists on it for 4 days straight. So it's...
And sometimes, obviously, you take the good old gut, like we just did Aha. After 25 years that their hit was there, we sold out 11 dates in different cities. Obviously, it's not the same city, but we sold out 11 dates with them. And, you see how strong that can be. And that brings also insight on the type of artist that could actually be touring now if they were, they were focused on it, because they were focused on it.
I mean, less and less we're relying on the record label. That's the global thing.
No.
It seems to be.
No, record labels, they don't give us the precise numbers that could actually serve for some purpose in ticket sales.
Yeah.
You especially because the number that record labels work is not necessarily what's by the counter, is what they actually simply sent to stores, and not necessarily mean the kids actually
They
bought
must be
it.
getting streaming stats, though. That's
Well, we do
probably
get them on
wrong.
Spotify, or we do get this information elsewhere.
You get it anyway, yeah. It's a global thing, isn't it?
Right,
We're relying less and less on the label.
It's not so much of a closed environment anymore. It's not that information is not with one person only anymore. It's out there, and if you look for it, you can have it.
I want to introduce now, talking metrics, Creando, the Brazilian company that has. We have Tiago here from there. Tiago, sorry.
Tiago, yeah.
And Have you worked with them, Miguel? Have you on any shows in Brazil or?
With this? No, not now. I haven't done it. But what I really use are the social numbers.
Yeah, I just wonder if
It's the part that I use for that. But I never do that.
I just wonder if it's worth you saying a couple of words now on what you do when you introduce an act.
It's dangerous,
Yeah.
I think.
To Brazil. I mean, I had one experience. The first experience I had was Kings of Convenience did a show in Sao Paulo, and I think we did 2,000 tickets in the end, but we did it through your model.
Yes. At that time, we were basically crowdfunding concerts. So we would see the number of demands on the platform. We created this demand the show button that the fans, they press and they don't pay, but we get the contact from them, at least their name, email, and location. And we incentivize them to share with their friends, even like pre-promote the concert, to put their city on the top ranking. So when agents or promoters are looking at the data, they say, oh, cool, like Bogota is in front, has more demands than Santiago, so maybe I'll include Bogota and then help the job. But we also promote concerts in Rio too, so we are promoters in Rio, so we see every time these demand information. And recently, I think the thing that we've been seeing a lot of like traction and getting demands is like with these YouTube stars that are on the verge of being artists and not, that the fans are willing to pay more for meet and greets than actually seeing the concerts. But those we're having a lot of traction with that. We've seen like some 2 good examples recently.
Great.
Yeah, Jack and Jack. They are 2 rappers from Oklahoma. They live in California. Like, no promoter wanted to we're working with his agent, and no promoter wanted to pay nothing because I never heard this. But then, look, we have 2,000 demands in São Paulo, 1,500 in Santiago. And after we started selling, we convinced them, we put kind of like some skin in the game. And when we started, like the concerts were sold out in like 48 hours. We moved to a bigger venue in Santiago, it from 800 to 1,700. So I think I hope that you guys use it even more in the future, because I think we've tried to evolve every month with that.
And you have a panel running tomorrow, do you?
Oh yeah. And I also have a panel tomorrow, 10:45 at Auditorio 2.
There, and a plug for that. Okay. Okay, well, thanks for that introduction. Good. So, obviously, it's a risky business promoting the smaller shows. I mean, if we've got arena-size acts, we know that they're going to come back and do arena-size shows. Small arenas, big arenas, you hope. But it's on the level of club touring, maybe 400 capacity to 1,000 capacity, where you've got more risk. You don't know until the week before or the night itself how many people are going to turn up. Are you working more at this level, Miguel, with?
Yes, if we don't have a festival, we do like that.
No.
And sometimes we are the promoters.
In?
Yes, we did it many times.
What, Chile, Colombia?
In Colombia, in Colombia. Or maybe we do, a minimum plus a percentage, but yes, we do it when we know, but we really know that, when we want to do it, and it always worked, always been sold out, because we want to show the promoter that we have to do like that.
Okay.
But also,
Most of the times we do it with a fee, or with a minimum. But sometimes when we feel very sure that it's gonna work.
And are you in any of these countries? Are you using funding money, government money?
Yes, most of them.
Most of them.
Yes. We did it with the Spanish embassy. Sometimes we work with the festival in Buenos Aires that every year needs a Spanish act. So we are kind of consulting for that. And also in Colombia festivals, yes, it helps a lot. For this kind of acts, it helps a lot. And then for the next tour is the best situation. Because after that, we can do that. We can do a venue for 1,000 people after do this kind of festival.
That's good. So I mentioned the word government, politicians. On the other scale of things, do politics play much part in when you're doing your big events,
Politics influence economy, and that's where it can hurt or make our shows thrive. It can be, it's one of the variables, so to say. You know, variables, there's so many variables that can play. For instance, there's one variable, for instance, of one of the shows that he promoted not so long ago with Ariana Grande, that a lot of people were saying it was a show for teenagers, that it played near the one big test for university there. So it was very close, the dates were very close, or the same date, or the same date. So that's a variable that at some point during the booking, they couldn't avoid, and they played with it. And, you know, they might have lost a lot of the buyers because they were playing at the same date. So, you know, those, you have to look at, for instance, we were just doing a deal with William Morris on something in Puerto Rico, and they're offering dates. They're saying that the artist wants to play those dates. And we said our offer simply is not valid for those dates because it won't work. We know it won't work. So if he wants to go with any other promoter, you know, he will do it, but we can go to the risk so far within the variables that are there.
Alex, anything to add to
I don't
that?
see any direct relation with politics. I mean, no influence, they don't. No, no help.
Yeah, okay.
They ask for some tickets.
Absolutely not. Yes.
They do ask for some tickets sometimes.
So,
That's all right.
so the only way it's really affecting, I suppose, there have been one or two countries recently that have been in economic crisis. You've had Brazil.
Yep.
Maybe you wanted to say a bit about the Brazilian situation and how that's
We got a massive devaluation. The economic situation is terrible. We got a massive devaluation of the dollar.
Yeah.
Our dollar now is $1 is 4 reais today in Brazil, which is almost double what we had not less than 2 months ago. Yes, 5 months ago, I would say. And on top of that, you know, it comes with an economic crisis. So this means in our business that we are paying more money for the talents and
In local currency, yes.
but we cannot simply push this money to tickets because the pocket is not accepting it.
So meanwhile, you've got contracts that us agencies have raised 6 months ago in dollars, sometimes in pounds.
Yep.
And you're taking a hit because we
are,
expect
yeah.
that.
Of course.
Do you ever get into, is there ever a case of renegotiation with currencies?
Sometimes.
Or by and large, is it?
Sometimes you get a chance to, usually when you work with an agent for a little long and you have some trust involved, you get a chance to renegotiate some terms, not always money, but some terms of what's yours and what's not, some type of rights, yeah, some
Type of hotel or
yeah, it can be done, but it's not easy.
I mean, just to explain that, you know, I think 99% of contracts I've seen or these guys work with into Latin America are in dollars or occasionally in pounds. I mean, I generally just deal with dollars. I think everybody
And offers
understand it.
And offers in general are plus local ground transportation, hotels, sound and lights, local sound and lights. Everything that you would need to do the show locally is provided on top. It's a show cost. So it's not only just buying or just getting the fee to the artist, but also all the cost that is involved. Because in the US, you just rent the venue, and then the artist comes with their whole production. They get their fee and they come, they put it together, you just open the door and they come and they do it. That's the US model. I don't know if Europe works that way, to be honest with you. But in South America, the promoters, still provide all of the means for the show to happen. on top of the guarantee.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's very, very difficult to ever route, or route as the Americans say, a tour by surface in South America. It's
You can
with
only,
production.
you can't do, I mean, if you can do it in Brazil, within Brazil, you can do certain cities, you can do driving, but it's not even worth the...
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. It's more expensive.
It's more expensive. Marcy wants to do that
yeah.
now, and it's a nightmare.
We both
He
done
is a
the same
nightmare.
tour. Yeah, we've done the same tours. We've done it before. Then they're doing it now, and we did it the whole tour on a bus, and it's more expensive than getting everybody flights from all the cities that he did. We did an 8-city tour in Brazil, 6 or 8 city tour, and it was all on buses because he didn't want to take the flights, and. It might be very well that you're still going to have to deal with that. Good luck.
So, talking about Americans and the dollar, Lollapalooza, we've seen that franchise festival brand grow globally, and especially in South America. There's now one in Brazil, Colombia, Chile, and Argentina. Jeremy, how long have you been working with C3 and the local partners for Lollapalooza?
I've had artists at almost every edition of Lollapalooza fronts from the first edition, which I think was 2011 or 12. I've lost count. The first one was in Chile, and I had an artist there in 2011 or 12.
2012.
Was it 12? Yeah. So I've had
Chile was 2011 and Brazil 2012.
Right. So I've had an artist since the 2011 Chile version.
And Alex, you're the partner in Brazil then?
Yes,
So,
yes.
And could you tell us a little bit about how that works? You're the local franchise owner, you're the co-promoter, or you are the promoter of Lollapalooza?
We are the promoter, yeah. Lollapalooza it's a different animal, right? We're talking about how to, first in regards to getting talent, we're talking about how to perceive the market and to acquire talent that communicates to what people expect. In the case of Lollapalooza, it's a bit different. We're talking about presenting to the audience new stuff, music to come, things that the kids will want to hear in the next year, not what they're listening now necessarily.
It still has some established headliners like Eminem and Florida.
Of course, yeah.
Below that, it's maybe the first time these artists are coming into the market.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, but even the big acts, we're always looking at the next at things that are happening now, music they're fresh and coming in now. 90% of our artists this year has released albums in the past 3 or 4 months.
So who's putting together this list of artists that might play on the next
We all do. It's
Is it between you and C3 and
Lollapalooza Brazil, Lollapalooza Chile, Lollapalooza Argentina, and C3, and William Morris, and Perry Farrell sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a combination of people speaking to each other on a daily basis, sometimes 3-4 hours a day, talking about different talents, putting together different lists, listening, evaluating, seeing them live. I think it's an important thing, visiting festivals abroad to check what's going on, what has this flavor of freshness, and so it's tough.
What I've seen with the Bills as well, they are very supportive as well of local talent, and you will not only have the big local bands in there, you'll have the exciting new.
Exactly. We've been very highly celebrated because of that. We're not looking for big names in Brazil. We are looking for the new names, new acts, artists that will benefit from being there. And kids, that's what the kids wants to hear. They want to hear new stuff.
And can you explain, are all the offers coming from your office or from C3 or a combination?
We combine the offers, and C3 puts in the hands of agencies with all of us copied and mentioned. So it's a combination of people in one offer.
Quite a coordination. Yeah.
It is. It takes time. It takes months. Yeah.
And Jeremy, when you're booking a band, with that, are you looking to tie in further touring around?
Definitely. I mean, you know, for a lot of high-profile international artists to do a one-off and fly to São Paulo or to fly to Buenos Aires and fly back isn't going to make sense unless they make a really lucrative offer, which a lot of times, you know, the numbers don't work. So, you know, a lot of bands look for all of the Lollapaloozas to make an offer for all three, for Argentina, Chile, and Brazil. And the Lollapaloozas have done a pretty good job, I must say, of making it, you know, 2 weekends back to back. And I remember even last year, in between Brazil and Argentina, you know, you have 5 days, 5 weekdays, and they put together a very small festival in Asunción, Paraguay, called Asunciónico. And one of the bands that I had, well, luckily enough, they got an offer for Asunciónico, and so in the days in between Brazil and Argentina, we were able to play in Paraguay, and therefore, you know, not hemorrhage for 5 days in between shows. With respect to other markets, you know, it's really a game of how quickly you can put together a tour, because once the festivals announce their lineups, all the promoters in all the other markets try and take those bands and bring them into their markets, and so there's a saturation. The venues aren't available, and so really when I'm negotiating and I have an offer for Lollapaloozas that looks like it's going to be viable, I immediately start negotiating for dates in other cities that are not Lollapalooza cities to make sure that I have the venues and I have the promoters for the times of those dark days in between the festivals.
So is it fair to say that when Lollapalooza is coming to town, that is pretty much setting the agenda of what's going to be touring around at that point?
Very much so, and if you decide to tour at that point, well, then you're competing not only with a lot of tickets being removed from the market that are going to Lollapalooza, but a lot of the media attention that is being focused on the Lollapalooza. So if you want to promote a show and it's not on the Lollapalooza agenda, you might not get the spot in the radio and the television and the newspapers that you would otherwise get if it were April or if it were February, the months before and after.
So is this good for everybody?
It seems so, yes. I think it's a very interesting festival for new acts, for developing acts, for the media.
Yeah.
This is an important thing, the media attention that we get and how we work with the media. We actually make them, radio stations, we actually make them airplay songs. We're not talking about just, you know, put the advertising. We want the engagement. We want this new music that's coming with the festival to really be listened to the audience. So we force them to actually play the music, not only one single, but the artist getting their programming. So it makes a difference. It's revolutionary.
Adele, anything to say? Good for all? Good for everybody?
Yes.
Good for
Well,
your
I'm the same situation as Jeremy. When we have a festival like this, it helps a lot to develop the artists in the rest of the territory. And there are a lot of festivals or maybe promoters who make all the week concerts. And you can do on other territories that you're not doing in a situation, you know, Paraguay, Uruguay, and yes.
And
we love that.
And whenever there's Lollapalooza, I can rest. Whenever there's Rock in Rio, he can rest.
So yeah, I don't know, people know that William Morris Endeavour and Mark Geiger has an involvement in Lollapalooza.
And Rock in Rio.
And Rock in Rio.
Yeah, of course.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
we do book talent with them as well for
No, but they own a part of Rock in Rio, don't they?
William Morris. No.
They have BMX, right?
They own a part?
Oh well, they have well indirectly, yes. Yeah.
Indirectly.
Yeah, indirectly.
Great. Okay.
On the background.
So, I'm an agent. I'm a director of an agency. If I had a festival, well, we do have festivals. We do control festivals. Does this give them, William Morris, as an agency, a kind of a leading edge if they're pitching for a new client? If they have the Lollapalooza brand, would you say you see evidence of that in South America, or not?
I mean, I can't say so specifically. I'm not behind closed doors to know that, you know, they have, you know, their own agenda. If they do, I don't think it's implausible. And again, I think that if they're willing to take the risk in investing and creating that brand, you know, then perhaps they have the right. I'm at a competing agency, but I generally think it's healthy, and you know, my acts make it on the bills, and they profit from it, and they benefit from it as well. So I don't feel like I'm in a place necessarily to gripe about it.
I can say, in our calls, we do. Mark Geiger participates sometimes. He's a strong man. He's a strong voice.
True.
Whenever he speaks about Lollapalooza experience. That's what he's and always interesting. He's a visionary, and we have the choice of getting a talent or not getting a talent. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if all the countries decide that talent is valuable and they want it. If we don't want it in Brazil, we're not going to get it. Last year, 2014, we decided that we wanted Muse when Argentina and Chile didn't want it. So, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do Muse, and you're going to do the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's what they did, and that's fine. It's our choice. No matter what William Morris suggests, even though they are close to us in these calls, no matter what they suggest, it's our call not to get the talent because we understand the market. They don't.
Local market.
Yeah.
Local promoter.
So there you go. If there is this law, it's not working because we got the last call.
I've had plenty of acts that have gotten offers for 1 or 2 or 3 of the Lollapaloozas. It's not necessarily none or all, and I do, you know, I speak to the local producers personally. I speak to Alex, I speak to the guys at Lotus, and I speak to the people at Phoenix, and sometimes they don't agree. Sometimes one of them wants my acts and the other one doesn't, and I'll have a very frank conversation. And you know,
most of times we don't agree. It's a nightmare, man.
Yeah, plenty of times I've spoken to Alex, and he's like, I'm going to make you an offer, and then I'll call Sebastian, who's from Lotus in Chile, and he's like, I don't see it happening at my festival. And I'm like, well, that sucks, but it is what it is.
So yeah, the world is getting smaller, and I say this with a tongue in cheek, if you know what that means, is that seems like the Americans, the North Americans are the new imperialists, and the Spanish and the English were the old imperialists, and we're seeing a great involvement of American companies throughout the world, whether it's William Morris buying Artist Voice in Australia, whether it's UTA acquiring the agency group, or Paradigm and Coda. Is this all a good thing? Are we all going to see us doing business an American way? Or, you know, are we all going to have to work 10-hour days? Work 5 days a week?
5 days vacation.
Have no holidays and, you know.
I like the old style better, but the future is obviously principally in this industry. I don't think you know, sometimes 10 hours days are not enough, and it is what it is, you know. And then we went on it because of the glamour of the business, and we end up learning very fast that it's about hard work and about you know, much more sweat than creative, beautiful things. And I feel that the fact that the world is coming together, or there's more of a connectivity overall in the world, is bringing companies together and bringing efforts together. And whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, I think it's to be discovered. But I think it makes the whole process more professional and more broadens the spectrum quite a bit.
Anything to add to this?
Yes, I think it's a good thing for the local partners that are working with them. But I'd like to have more Latin acts, because the context that we are working with is from Spain and Latin America, and I like this kind of festival. It's okay to have a Lollapalooza, Sonar, or Greenfields, you know, this franchising festival, but I feel like, I don't know, I prefer to have maybe bigger our Latin companies. And maybe we can go with our artists to the US or to Europe, be paid like them. You know, I think that it helps for a situation and helps the partners that they have. But if we want to do the same with the artists, the Latin artists, we have to work with them in the country. I don't know. I think that it helps a lot for a situation, but not for the local industry.
Good. So I wonder if we have time for any questions now from the floor. Do we have any questions out there? Feel free to ask the question in Spanish, and they will then translate it to me, the moderator.
I can, but I won't. I'm not Spanish, but I'm from Belgium, in fact. Okay. My question now we have everybody together is whether the promoters, the Brazilian promoters, or Move and Alexander, think for non-English or non-US band, it's not too big, as we are in general. It's interesting to go to an American Miami agent or go directly. I have an experience to work directly with the different countries, and it worked very well. Of course, I wonder what they think about it.
If you have more chances using an American agency to approach the South American market, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if it's interesting to go to an agent, or an English agent, or go directly. I mean, for bigger bands, you have to work with them. It's normal. They build the bands, etc. There is less interest in non-US or non-UK bands. It's harder for them. I mean, but they still go that way. Do you think it's easier for you to work with true?
I got to tell you this. In our business, in our level of business, I think that I don't recall doing any business that was not, with the exception of one artist, Eros Ramazzotti from Italy, but I don't recall doing business directly with management. 99.9% of my business is with agencies. So if you are an act and you want to go tour anywhere, it's not only South America. I would recommend, because of the relationships, because of the history that they have with other acts, to go into an agency, and there's many to choose from. But an agency is definitely your door, or finding an agent is definitely your door into touring.
I've always felt an agency gives not only protection to the artist that is booking, but it's also protecting the promoter relationships as well. So we sign terms of businesses with our promoters and with artists. That means that we can take a deposit from a promoter. We can sit on that deposit and then assure the artist that it's okay to go and complete the contract. In Europe, I've found, in France and one or two territories, this concept of actually having an agent in the middle that holds an escrow account, a deposit, is not, it's a different culture when doing it. But ultimately, it comes down to relationships.
Yes.
And it's the relationships that have been built up through generally London-based agents and North American-based agents have developed over the years, and there's a level of trust. And, it doesn't matter what contract you have in place, it does come down to one factor, and I say this as an agent, you've got to know your man, you've got to know your promoter that you're working with, because that's the only thing, that's the thing that's going to sort out the problem at the 11th hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And if to have a manager that can negotiate with promoters everywhere, it will cost you a fortune. Nobody can do that. So there are specific cases like Eros Ramazzotti, Laura Pausini, Alejandro Sanz, some acts that you can relate to the management because they've been around. They went to the your country several times. You get to know the management, so it's easier than to go to an agent that's not even sometimes not even close to you.
Also in Brazil, we have a lot of that because there are no agencies in Brazil. So the management are the agency.
Yes.
So that is what happens in countries like Italy and a lot in Spain as well. Those acts are negotiated directly because there is no agency presence on that particular country. And they do not go and do their international business with an agency because it will cost them 10, 15, 20%. So they have that mentality that if I can do it locally, I can do it internationally. And then they go and phase it out, like Arizona Mazzotti or Laura Pausini for Italy that play in Brazil. And, you know, the fact that, and I think that there was a confusion because our offices are in Miami, their offices are in Brazil. As promoters, I also have an office in Brazil. There's also a managing director there. There's a team there. There's an office in Colombia, an office in Peru, an office in Argentina. But I'm based in Miami as the mother company, so to say, and he's based in Brazil, and he has, a managing director also in Argentina, in Chile. He's just not based in the U.S., that's all. It's just a matter of zip code, that's all.
I mean, by and large, if I can say Miami, it's like you might as well be tacked on to the top of the South American continent for location. It's
I say we're the capital of Latin America.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's how exactly I feel. I mean, we don't. If you go out in Miami, you don't have to speak English. You do not have to speak English at all. Not at all.
The reason the agency group and now UTA has an office in Miami is specifically to focus on U.S. Hispanic and Latin America. Los Angeles is great for U.S. Hispanic, but when it comes to Latin America, it's really not representative. And also distances. I fly to Latin America quite often. All of the major Latin labels have an office in Miami. A lot of the Latin artists, William Morris has an office. CAA has an office in Miami. A lot of artists have their second homes in Miami. I mean, it's really the hub for Latin America.
but on the subject of actually continental European bands establishing themselves in South America, I mean, Miguel can talk about bands from Spain that have achieved it, and
Yes.
Portuguese bands have been to Brazil. I mean, I've had some experience with Norwegian bands, but I think you'll find that the Scandinavian offices and the Nordic offices have been very good on actually establishing those showcases and territories that mean it's normal for talent to come through like that. And do you want to speak for a Norwegian band like Kings of Convenience, whoever, to tour in these markets? But
You need it.
Sweden.
and do you want to talk about your experience with Spanish bands and to?
Yes, I think that Madrid should be the capital of Latin America because everything started here, but I don't know if Madrid wants to do it. Yes, we do a festival in Días Nórdicos for Nordic bands in Latin America. This is the second edition. Let's work.
Any other question here?
There's one.
Okay. Let's say the music business becomes a data-driven business, and that there is, gazillions of data points. And how does this change the agency model if those kind of decisions and a lot of that information that informs is controlled by the artist or artist management from a kind of a UK/US agency perspective?
I'm trying to, so you're asking if, I think that's actually happening. Most managers are in control of the data points.
Does that change the financial conversation, for example, if more kind of ideas are coming from management?
It empowers.
Yeah, so
More.
I'm a resource for a manager. I'm a salesman. I'm part of the management team essentially, and so if a manager has that information and it's good sales information, they would be doing themselves a justice and the band a justice and me justice by arming me as an agent with that information to better sell that band. So I think it benefits everyone. I don't think it divides by any means. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, do any of my panelists want to add anything to this? I mean, have we established where the capital of Latin America is now?
Exactly.
It's actually American.
I think it's most
actually
important
in
to
America.
I think it's most important to establish, the optimism and the growth that Latin America has been enjoying over the last 20 years in touring. There are a lot of new markets, a lot of new promoters, a lot of new venues, a lot of new opportunities. I think it's the most exciting time Latin America has seen in its history in the live music sector.
I think it's a twofold. I think it's that at the same time having to deal with a financial crisis throughout the region, give and take. I mean, even in Argentina, political. But if you think of the exchange rate, it went from 4 to 11. That is now. So it's crazy times. We have gone through this. We've gone through this.
It's not the first time.
Before, it's not the first rodeo of Latin America within a financial crisis. I think that we will, as creative as we all are in Latin America, we will find our way to go through this. Obviously, it is important also for acts and management to be informed about these things, because there's got to be a point of, and we have gone through several cases in different shows of different promoters where you have to push too much on the ticket, and then the ticket becomes the issue of the time. People just can't buy the ticket because it's way too expensive. And then you have to deal with, local specificities, like in Brazil having a 50% discount for a student, which is, can be a great thing, but at the same time, it just increases the price of your ticket altogether.
It's very important.
Whoever's not a student.
It's very important to know the market, to really understand it, and by the market is all of Latin America. That's a lot of markets, and so as an agent, it's very important for me to be able to distinguish all of the nuances and differences between all these territories, and it's my responsibility as the agent to make sure that artists and managers are aware of the state of affairs in every market in Latin America, so they're not going to unreasonably expect something from one market as they would in the other when they're completely different. And so that also protects Fabiano and Alex when I'm working with them. Because, for instance, with Brazil's crisis, I have to tell managers, Brazil's going through a really bad time right now. That show that you got $100,000 for last year, you're not going to do that this time around. It's just not possible.
You might do a 50 or a 40, so would that be your bill?
Fabiano might offer 50, and by the time the show comes around, it's really 20.
And then he's going to cry, he's going to ask for 70, 75, and then we close the deal. Anyway.
Okay, guys, I think it's been a good discussion. Certainly, I'm left feeling there's a lot of creativity in the markets. You've got some of the best audiences. I want to thank all my panelists for a very insightful discussion, and thank you for attending today.
Thank you.
Yeah.